Creating claims and submitting them through Billing Pro is very straightforward. We can begin creating a claim directly from the patient search, or we can begin from the scheduler. One way to create claims is to retrieve the patient from the scheduler and enter their diagnosis and procedure codes. Let's take a look at a claim for James Smith. To create a claim from the scheduler, simply right-click on the patient's name and go down to Retrieve Patient. This will now open up the patient window. The same window can also be opened from the patient search. Simply search for the patient of your choice and double-click on the patient's account. And now we have the window open for Jane Smith as well as for James Smith. To create a claim for either one of these patients, simply go to the Claim tab. Going to the Claim tab will create a new claim for this patient. This is where we can find all of our diagnosis and procedure codes. These are my diagnosis and procedure codes. Your diagnosis and procedure codes will be different, and you can customize your diagnosis and procedure codes through the System Management menu, which is covered in another video. These are the most common diagnosis and procedure codes which I use in my practice. Your codes will be different, but you can always find any diagnosis or any procedure code through the Search by Code functions of the diagnosis or the procedure code list. Simply begin typing and find the code of your choice and double-click on that code. The same is true for the diagnosis codes. You'll notice that some codes appear in red. Those codes are ineligible codes. They are no longer valid for claim submission and will be rejected by the payers if you submit that code. We leave those codes on the diagnosis code search and in Billing Pro simply to notify you that these codes are no longer valid and that you may update your code list. However, before submitting a code, before submitting an invalid code, the software will alert you that the code is no longer valid. Selected diagnosis is obsolete. So the diagnosis code search allows you to go and find any code, and you can search by the actual diagnosis code or by the description. Simply begin typing and find the code that you're looking for. This claim window has a number of features, and we'll begin at the top. The first feature is the date of service. The date of service by default will be today's date of service. However, you can always modify this date of service for another date. If we say that this actually occurred on the 1st of December, we just change the date using the calendar feature, or we can actually free type the date as well. But we'll just use the calendar and go and select the 1st. Also, the location. Now this practice, my practice, has 2 locations currently set up, Somerset and New Brunswick. You can choose the location of your choice, or the default location will be selected. Again, my practice also has multiple providers. I can choose the provider of my choice as the attending or the billing provider. Now, the attending provider is the provider that actually treated the patient, where the billing provider is the provider whose name and whose information, billing information, will be used to submit the claim. Certain providers are only enrolled with certain insurances. For example, in my practice, only Dr. Brown is enrolled with Blue Cross Blue Shield, where Dr. Smith is only enrolled with Aetna, for example. And so any claim that's submitted to Blue Cross Blue Shield would need to be submitted with Dr. Brown's information. We can also select here to add a referring physician. When you see these plus and X signs, it means add or clear the referring physician. We can add a referring physician just by clicking on this plus sign and then finding the provider of our choice. And here we can find Dr. Warren Brown using the search feature down below. You can type in an initial and click search. and then double click on the referring physician's name. When we double click on the referring physician's name, it automatically populates that referring physician's information, and it will also populate the referring physician UPIN and NPI and other associated information that are needed for claim submission. We can also add a referral number if that's required as well, using this referral number field. First thing that we can do, let's begin by selecting our diagnosis and procedure codes, and you can do that just by putting a check mark next to the diagnosis codes of your choice. And if there are any codes that are not on this list, we can simply search those codes with the description box. And double click on those codes to add that code to your list. Now, to add a procedure, we can simply put a check mark in that procedure box as well. Next, we can go and select another procedure, and when we're all set and we're all done, we can now save this claim. And you'll notice as soon as the claim is saved, the total charge for this claim will be calculated along with the diagnosis and procedures. Now we can go and click on the Claims List tab to see the past claims that have been created for this patient. So here we can see that there was another claim that was created for the same date with a different charge amount, and also other claims that have been submitted for this patient in the past as well. And when we're on this claims list, we can select the claim from the top menu, and we can also see the claim notes down below. From here, I can see that the claim was created with the amount of $123, and the user that created it is this user up here. Let's go back to the claim. Now let's create a claim for James Smith, and you can see his windows open right behind me, and I can click on the Claim tab for James Smith, and now I can go and create a claim for James. And because of what we've done earlier, we already have a knowledge of how to add a diagnosis and how to add a procedure, so we're just going to go ahead and select the diagnosis and procedure codes of our choice, and we'll click Save, and now our claim has been saved. To submit these claims to the billing service and through the billing service, simply go to the Claim Manager. And now on this Claim Manager, we can select the dates of when the claim was created. So on the Claim Manager, we can see which claims have been created today and actually submit those claims to the individual payers. So first thing we're going to do, the default selection is to pull up claims that were created on a specific day, which is today. And the from date is today, and the to date is today. Also, we're looking for claims that we're going to submit to the primary insurance with any status. Now, there are a number of different statuses that are available. We can go for new claims, rebuild claims, billed claims, and paid claims. I'm going to retrieve all of the possible claims that have been created from December 2nd until December 2nd. And I'm going to retrieve all claims that were submitted to the primary insurance. I can, at any point, retrieve the claims that would be submitted to secondary or another insurance or to the patient, but for now I'm just going to stick with the primary insurance. And I will click the Retrieve Claims button. When I do that, it's going to load for me a list of all of the claims that have been generated or created today. And here I can see I have a claim for Jane Smith, and I also have a claim for James Smith, and I can see the total amounts that are due. I can see the date that was created, and I can also see the dates of service. So here we can see the actual dates of service for these claims, and if you remember, the date of service for Jane was December 1st, and for James it was December 2nd. If we choose a date, a broader date range, let's say for example I want to retrieve all of the claims from the past month as well, from November, and view those claims until today, we can just change the date from and the date to and click on Retrieve Claims. And when we do that, we can see a list of all of the claims that have been created. This list will also show us and allow us to view claims for a specific payer. And here I can pull down this option at the top and choose specifically which insurance company I want to see. So now I'm able to retrieve these claims and see these claims only for my Blue Cross Blue Shield patients. I can also see them specifically for Aetna, or for State Farm, or for any insurance of my choice. And if I select the blank row at the top, I will see all of the claims. I can also use these search fields at the top, and that's what these are. These are search fields at the top to search for all of the patients who have a last name of Smith, or for a last name of Brown. Or if I leave it blank, I have all of the patients who have claims that have been generated in the time period of my choice. I can also search for a specific claim number, and to do that you can just begin typing out the claim number, and now you'll have all of the patients who have a claim matching that claim number. Or you can do it by date of service, or a specific amount that's due. And these search features allow you to narrow your results to better find and fine-tune the claims that you're ready to submit. This claim manager allows you to submit claims directly to MTBC for final submission to the insurance payers, or to directly print the HCFA 1500 forms. When we're ready to print the forms for a specific patient or submit a claim, all we have to do is put a check mark in the box next to the patients whose claims we're now ready to submit. So now I can just put a check mark in these boxes, or using this field at the top, I can put a check mark in all of the boxes for all of the patients. When we're ready to submit these claims, we can simply click on Submit to MTBC. And now the claim submission process has begun, and it shows you a progress bar of sending the claims to MTBC server. And this will let you know that the claims are now being transmitted, and the claims have been sent, and we receive our message notifying us of successful claim submission. Once we've submitted these claims electronically, we can now go back to the claim form for any one of the patients of our choice, and we can see the status of that claim submission. So here we can see the claims have been submitted, and if there are any information that's missing, we can also update that information. So we can go into Jane Smith's account and see, or John Smith's account, and see the information that was submitted. At any time, we can also go run a submission report, and we can go to the reports menu and go down to claim submission. And this is where we want to see the details of our claim submission. We can click on reports and go to the claim submission menu, and from here we can choose our date range, again the from date and the to date, and we can also choose if we want to see how the claims were submitted. Was this created or submitted to MTBC? Was a HCFA generated, or was there a patient statement that was submitted? I'm just going to keep the status of all and click OK. Now this will open a report that's going to show us all of the claims that have been submitted to MTBC on the date of our choosing. And here we can see there were a total of 14 claims submitted, 6 were acknowledged, and 8 were rejected. And what we can do here is actually go and review the claim details for these patients and determine why was the claim acknowledged or why was it rejected. We can do this. You'll notice this is just like any web browser application, that anything that's highlighted in blue and underlined is clickable. So for example, if I want to go see the detail of James Brown's claim, I can just click on the claim number. And now this will immediately open up the claim for James Brown, and it'll show us the diagnosis codes that were used as well as the procedure code. And I can go into the claims list and see the details for this patient. Here I can see the details for these claims, and it's very easy for me to see using the color codes that this claim was rejected. And the same detail I can also see from the claim status column on the claim submission report. If I click on the word rejected, it's going to tell me the reason why it was rejected. The patient's gender is missing and the patient's marital status is missing. And now clicking on the claim takes me to the claim details, and I can go into the claim list and see the details of this rejected claim. Here, the patient's gender is missing and patient's marital status is missing. So now what we can do to correct this claim, we can go to the Personal tab and enter or update the patient's gender as well as the patient's marital status. And now we can save this claim. To resubmit this claim that has now been rejected, we can go to the claim list and find the claim that has the information that says the patient's gender is missing and the patient's marital status is missing. Since I have now updated this claim, I can now resubmit the claim. And I do that by double-clicking on the claim. Double-clicking on this claim row will take me to that claim detail. And now, since I've updated the gender and I've updated the marital status, I can resubmit this claim. And I can do that right from this Claims tab. See, there are two options to submit claims to MTBC. The first option is to enter the claim, save the claim, and then use the Claim Manager to submit the claim. The second option that you have is to use the Filing/Submission button. When we use the Filing/Submission button, we can now submit the claim directly to MTBC. And here we have the option of insurance filing by an electronic means and clicking Submit to MTBC. Or we have the option to bill this to the patient and print a patient statement now. Instead, we're going to submit this to MTBC. The primary status has already been billed, so we're going to click the word Submit to MTBC. And of course it tells me you must save this claim before submitting, because we have updated the claim information with the gender and the marital status, and now we'll click Submit to MTBC. And again, if you remember, it's going to do the same claim submission process of sending the claim to MTBC and then letting us know if the claim was sent successfully. Once we see that the claim was sent successfully, we can click OK, and we can actually review the details of the claim scrubber status. And here it tells me in green that the claim has passed the MTBC claim scrubber and is accepted. This tells me that I have entered all of the information that I need for this claim, and I can be confident that the claim will be accepted and submitted to the insurance properly. Now that we've resolved this claim, we can go back to the claim and close out this window. Now we can go to another rejection, and here we can see for Bill Clinton the rejection status for his claim, and we can click on Rejected. And here we have many more reasons. We have the from date must be equal to the date of service, the provider number must be specified for the insurance type must be unique, identifiers must be unique. So we have a number of issues that need to be corrected for this claim. Let's go through some of these others. Again, the from date must be equal to the date of service, the referring physician NPI is missing for this provider, the provider number must be specified, and all of these claim statuses have a specific reason of why a claim was rejected. And for example, the referring physician NPI is missing for this claim. We can go to that specific claim, and we can see for Warren Brown, Warren Brown is missing an NPI. Well, we can go into the System Management menu and go down to the Referring Physician Setup, and then go and update and modify the NPI for this provider. Perhaps it's not an accurate NPI and it needs to be corrected. So as you can see, with the reports and the claim submission status and the claim manager, it's very straightforward and easy to update any claim and correct information that is missing.